What's up, Copy Squad? It's your boy Kyle Milligan coming to you live from Boca Raton, Florida. And today I want to talk a little bit about turning pro and some lessons I learned from Jerry Seinfeld. Not Jerry Seinfeld personally talking directly to me, but from a documentary I recently watched by Jerry Seinfeld about Jerry Seinfeld. And basically this documentary called Comedian is following Jerry after he just finished Seinfeld and he's back at the stand-up grind. He's basically writing jokes again, getting up, trying new material. There's really just amazing parts where basically every time before he goes on stage, he's nervous, which is kind of like awesome to see. And then also you get to see him go on stage and blank, like just standing there and he doesn't know what it is, his punchline, he forgot it. And just kind of that kind of revealing sort of behind the scenes, curtains pulled back, look at what it is to be a real true professional. And it's in stark contrast because it follows two comedians in this documentary. The first is Jerry Seinfeld himself. The second is an up-and-comer named Orny Adams, and you kind of see him get like his breakout on the David Letterman show in this documentary, kind of doing like just weekend gigs. And then what's funny is it's following both of them, like Jerry's established, he's making his comeback sort of, back in the stand-up world, and Orny's kind of getting his, he's been doing it for like 8 years, but he's about to have his breakout moment, right? So you kind of see those two guys running like a parallel track, and just the contrasting things that they say. If you're just a casual observer watching, you probably don't put labels to these experiences, but having read Stephen Pressfield 110 times personally, I can see the qualities of the amateur in the upcomer, and I can see the qualities of the pro in Jerry Seinfeld. And I want to talk about those because they're so important, and I think they're just critical timing for me to hear now, and I want to share it with you. So the first thing that they're following the upcomer into like a restaurant. He's kind of like talking about his career and like what's important for him and like his success. And he says, what's important for me is the celebrity. He's like, I want everyone in this restaurant right now to be like, oh my God, is that Orny Adams? That's him. Oh my God. And contrary to that, when you see like, it's a little bit different for someone like Seinfeld who's already had so much celebrity, but it's kind of cool to see someone who's been there, done that, and the way they conduct themselves. Like you see him walking around New York or going into the comedy club, he's got his hat pulled down, his jacket up, and he's just kind of trying to stay low key. People are trying to get pictures, shake hands, and he's like, I'm just trying to recite my lines, I'm just trying to do my work, just trying to do my craft. And he's not about that celebrity. He's not trying to reach out and find anybody to give him that validation anymore because he's kind of been there, done that. And I think that was a true mark of the pro, is that he's still working. So if he's already got the celebrity, the biggest show in, television history, then what is he working for? He's working for the love of the craft. And I think this is like a super weird and pure demonstration of this old adage, fall in love with the process. He's just doing it because he likes writing jokes. He doesn't need the money. He can't get any more famous. He's doing it because he likes the process. He likes writing the jokes, okay? So it was funny to see the new guy basically and I was the same way when I started writing copy. My first question was, how much money does a promo usually make? Which is the dumbest question in copywriting. How much money does a promo usually make? Somewhere between $0 and $24 million in a day. Another thing he does, there is a moment in the documentary where Seinfeld is talking to Orny, and Orny's kind of talking about like just basic classic amateur struggles. He's saying stuff like, well, was there a time whenever you were looking at your friends and your friends are growing up and they're getting jobs and they're getting married and they're having kids, and you ever think, what am I doing with my life? And Seinfeld's laughing and he's like, dude, what else would you rather be doing? Did you have other appointments that were more important? Like, would you rather have their jobs? Again, like the guy was sitting there comparing himself to his friends. That's like, okay, so the amateur mindset, comparing yourself to your friends, comparing yourself to other people was kind of consistent on this guy's timeline. He was kind of like, oh, look at Jerry. Oh, look at this other guy. Oh, look what my friends are doing. And he wasn't really just focused on himself and building his craft. And it was funny because when he said that to Jerry, Jerry laughed, right? So you look at the pro, and the pro think that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. He literally said to the guy, he said, are you out of your mind? You're comparing yourself to those people? So comparing himself to his friends, right? Mark of an amateur, pro doesn't care. Pro just head down, stays on his grind. Another thing he did, okay, so the new guy had a bad set. He comes out and he blames the crowd. He says, I'm sorry, this crowd just sucks. He gets up, he stamps outside, and he opens the door, and it's 7 o'clock and it's bright outside. He said, no one wants to laugh in the daytime, but you can hear people laughing inside the building with another comedian. So Jerry Seinfeld has a couple bad sets throughout this documentary. where either people aren't laughing or he forgets his line or he just messes up, and he's always beating himself up. And there was one scene where he goes, man, this is just a tough crowd. Like, And then he catches himself. He goes, no, there are no tough crowds. You're either good or you're not. And I just wasn't good. Okay. So I think as a copywriter, if you're writing a package or you want to blame your client for not accepting your brilliant copy or your brilliant ideas, or you write a package and you spend 2 months on it and it doesn't make any money and you want to blame the audience or the markets or the president or whoever you want to blame, you could do what the new guy did, which is you get mad at the crowd and you get mad at the time of day that it was written, or you can pull what Jerry Seinfeld did, which is say, no, this is my job and I've got to get better, right? I thought that was really important to look at too. So the guy gets on Letterman. So the new guy gets his breakout moment. He gets invited to David Letterman, do a stand-up gig, and he's so excited. He calls everybody, and 4 minutes later, he's miserable because he called everybody to tell them about his new exciting opportunity. No one picks up the phone, and guess what? He's lying in the street, literally on this scene, and he's like, God, I was just happy a minute ago. Now I'm miserable again. What happened? What happened? And I think, again, it comes from that place of doing the craft for the validation. So if you're a copywriter, if it's just doing it to get the paycheck, doing it to get the money, like if you're doing it for someone to pat you on the back and say, man, what a good job, you're so clever, it's going to be more heartbreak than actual like back pats and celebrations, right? So I think that was a really important thing to see. Like he finally gets his big break, and all he wants to do is call everybody and tell them. And I guess that is kind of like saying, hey, let's get that kind of validation parade going on. And for Jerry, it was kind of like he just kind of kept grinding, working the comedy clubs on Saturdays, trying out new material. And at one point, I will say this, Jerry did say he was going to quit. I think it was working weekends or something. And he was talking to Colin Quinn. And Colin Quinn was like, no, you work. And that was like one of those moments where someone had to call Jerry out on his work ethic and kind of remind him of what's important. And Jerry's like, you're right, I got to keep working. And I think that everyone kind of suffers and struggles from that like withdrawal or sort of like that fear of doing something new, even at the highest level, Jerry Seinfeld, right? So I think, again, that's why I really love this documentary. I want to share these little lessons. So that's just something I wanted to share today, and trying to emulate that, being a pro. One of the things Jerry Seinfeld said too was like, we show up every day. And he basically said like he saw a bunch of guys had hard hats and just got back from lunch doing construction or whatever. And he said, I was watching those people trudge back to their jobs and they don't want to go back to work after lunch. He said, but if those guys can do it, if they can trudge back to work after their lunch and go back to that job, he said, then surely I can show up every day and go back to work. And I thought, just stuff like that, little reminders about how lucky we are to, if you're working copywriting full time or you're trying to get into it, just how lucky we are that, we can just do this, And if you're interested in checking out the Copy Squad Inner Circles conference call, there's a link to join and you can get in on that. We're going to be reviewing copy. I think I got 3 or 4 submissions from members this week. And that's what we're going to do, man. We're going to take it easy, chill out. Jerry Seinfeld struggled too with staying consistent and staying on his groove. And he needed someone like Colin Quinn to tell him work. So everyone kind of needs that kick in the butt sometimes. And it comes from friends, family, coworkers, colleagues, whatever. Great. But if you don't have any of that, you got the Copy Squad Inner Circle. It's available here. Go check it out and join us on these calls. That's all I've got for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. And peace out, Copy Squad.